Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
Now I'm fixing steaks for supper. I expect you to stay.
You expect me to sit down and eat with that woman chained up the way she is?
RL, you watch yourself in there.
There's sin in my heart. There's evil in the world. But when I got no one, I talked to God. I asked for strength.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals sitting up here.
What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week?
I say there shortly. Me, I'd be looking to sell.
At what price?
More. Much, much more.
I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
No dream is ever too big, or no dreamer is ever too small. The only question in life is therefore for you to answer yes to your next accomplishment. Welcome to Morning at NTV, where magic definitely starts here. Brian Mlondo, Joel Senyonyi, Mabel and Isma are all ready to make sure you have a fantastic Tuesday. The day that comes before Wednesday, the day that comes before Thursday, the day that comes before Friday. Let's get started with the question of the day. Well, our platforms are very clear. Head over to Facebook, Morning at NTV, and you can also tweet us at Morning at NTV. And tell us the first 5 respondents to that question will walk out with a beautiful mag courtesy of Morning at NTV. Alternatively, get down to your phone and send us a text to 6565. And good luck to all of you. But also follow us on Twitter at MBGold2, at Joel Senyonyi, at Mebkeb, and at Dakaba Chigongo. Mabel is at the NTV studios with the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Brian, and it is a very beautiful day. Looking just at the green behind you, I am so jealous that I am in a studio. But it's also quite bright here in the studio. We're watching from Welcome to the Show. Now, moving on to the headlines today. The police force is requesting for 40 billion shillings for the next financial year. The acting Chief Justice Stephen Kavuma launches the first ever Uganda mediation chambers, and divers from the Marine Police Unit mount a search for a young man who drowned in Lake Victoria.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
The police force is requesting for 40 billion shillings in its budget for the next financial year to buy equipment for quelling protests around the country. The revelation was made by police officers who met with MPs on the Defence and Internal Affairs committee in Parliament. Francis Jingo has more.
The Internal Affairs Minister General Ronda Nyakairima led a team of officers from the Uganda Police and prisons to request lawmakers to increase their budget in the next financial year. The Uganda Prison Service has budgeted for 184 billion shillings to run its affairs next financial year, but has only been allocated 44 billion shillings. The authorities voiced concern about the sum of 27 billion shillings allocated to them, which they say falls short of the 48 billion shillings they need for feeding prisoners alone.
When we add on our contribution from our own farms, which is 7.5 billion, we shall have a shortfall of feeding prisoners 21 billion on food. Yes. Chair, this is mostly for buying posho and beans.
I don't want to look so disastrous in presenting a shortfall in the budget. I can only be optimistic and work within the resources. The budget strike a balance of the welfare of the warders and the prisoners.
The MPs on Defense and Internal Affairs Committee say it will be a violation of human rights to starve prisoners.
This is very serious that Uganda prisons is sort of 21 billion shillings for feeding inmates. This is a human rights issue, and out of those inmates, 21,000 of them are on remand.
The prison's boss says they require 3,000 shillings to feed each inmate every month, but complain that the actual provided is far less.
The 3,000 per day is not what is required to feed prisoners. Is what we have been using as an estimate. We have just been using it as an estimate that if you got poshed beans of 1,500, probably you can have something in your stomach. But we don't even have that.
And after the prison's officials, there came the team from the police force to defend its budget of 315 billion shillings. The police asked for 40 billion shillings to purchase equipment for quelling riots.
2.5 for every public riot, they call it, they are spending. Public demonstrations. How do we on each demonstration spend upward of 2 billion? 2 billion per rally. They want now 40 because they anticipate we shall have, but those are specific. So,
instead of giving money to these policemen who are firing it in the air, tear gas all over the place, I would rather give it to people who are starving in Luzira.
It has also emerged that the police has already spent over 10 billion shillings for inspecting helicopters that the force requested for out of the 24 billion shillings budgeted for 3 choppers.
Last year we gave them 22 billion, but just to make inspection tours for the helicopters, they've spent 12.5 billion. Just to go and see which helicopters we will buy. They've spent half of the money on travel.
The team of police officers was sent out of the committee by the lawmakers for failing to show up with the police chief, General Kare Kayihura.
There are issues that are specific to the office holder, because we must look at what happened in the previous financial year, what is happening in this particular one, and the projection. So the person who is really in the deeper knowledge of those goings on is the IGP himself.
General Kare Kayihura is expected to appear this Wednesday to account for a sum of 13 billion shillings that was allegedly spent on repairing 2 tractors. Jingo Francis, NTV, Parliament.
Divers from the Police Marine Unit and local fishermen near Kampala have mounted a search for a young man who drowned in Lake Victoria. The man, Oliver Matovu, is reported to have been swept away by the lake as he swam on the shores. He is the son of wealthy car dealer in Kampala, commonly known as Yoma.
The search for Oliver Matovu, the son of a wealthy Kampala businessman, has been stepped up by the police and fishermen around Lake Victoria. Oliver is reported to have drowned last evening while swimming on the shores of the lake after having a boat ride with his friends.
Our marine units, they are doing whatever they can to retrieve the dead body.
The team of police divers and the locals have been on the lake for hours trying to retrieve his body. Some of the residents say Oliver's relatives have put a cash reward of 15 million shillings for anyone who helps recover their son's body.
Very sad there. The acting Chief Justice, Justice Stephen Kavuma, has launched the first ever Uganda Mediation Chambers. The chambers are aimed at facilitating the practice of alternative dispute resolution without having to go to court. Suhail Mugabe reports.
The Uganda Mediation Chambers are the first of their kind in the Eastern Central African region. They are established and dedicated to the settlement of disputes through mediation and other forms of alternative dispute resolution, such as arbitration, negotiation, and reconciliation without going to court. At the opening ceremony, the acting Chief Justice Stephen Kavuma said cases should be settled amicably without the lengthy court processes. This will curb the problem of case backlog.
These objectives are welcome at a time when the courts are grappling with a heavy backlog of cases. The UMC is therefore a welcome addition to our efforts to render justice to the people of Uganda.
The acting Chief Justice urged the citizenry to welcome the procedure, which, even though has been an integral part of the justice system, has not been exploited.
I have no doubt that they will embrace the idea because of the numerous advantages it offers in terms of maintaining peace, law and order, and as well as maintaining harmony.
Officials from the Uganda Mediation Chambers say the services will offer disputants a speedy and cost-effective way of settling problems.
When you go to court, there is a judge and you only remain like a witness. It is your case. Now, in mediation, you get a third party neutral who will bring the parties together, and it is informal and in a confidential manner.
Mediation has not been a common practice in Uganda's legal system, and only 26% of the cases were settled throughout 2012 and 2013. Although the Constitution caters for the existence of mediation in Article 126, Clause 2, there is still need to sensitize masses on the alternative ways conflicts can be resolved without litigation. Suhail Mugabe, NTV.
The government has started renovating the Kiriandongo Hospital in Masindi with a 325 billion shilling loan from the World Bank. 8 other government hospitals will also be renovated using the funds. The development has come as a big relief to authorities at Kiriandongo Hospital, who have gone for 2 decades without running water. We have more on this story.
Goody. Kiriandongo Hospital is located along the Kampala-Gulu Highway and has been in existence for close to 40 years. The hospital is meant to serve people from far-flung areas like northern Uganda, but is shunned by many because of its poor facilities. The facility has had no running water for close to 2 decades and relies on a borehole in the vicinity to run its activities.
And that one has made it very difficult for us to maintain the hygiene and sanitation of the hospital. And most of our toilets here are all waterborne. We are waterborne. So we've had blockages of the sewage.
These buckets serve as storage facilities for carrying out emergencies.
So what we do, we are forced now to use PHC money to pay porters. And actually not porters, there's only one man getting water for all these departments.
The hospital also lacks electricity, and the authorities have to make do with solar power and flashlights to carry out crucial operations.
It has not been uncommon to get mothers delivering in darkness here.
The daily patient attendance stands at more than 200, but quite a number of them have to sleep on the floor due to the shortage of beds.
Especially when it is rainy season. It is also not uncommon to get all beds filled up and people get the mattresses and put them down, especially pediatric ward.
The situation has left many workers at the hospital demoralized, with others absconding from work.
There are some serious cadres that we are supposed to have, like pharmacists. One who came here just reported and went away.
The government has embarked on revamping the hospital to improve the provision of healthcare services. A total of $5.6 million has been earmarked for the hospital's renovation.
We have a funding from the World Bank worth about $130 million, and $70 million has been allocated for renovation of facilities across the country. Currently, since January, we started renovation of 9 health facilities.
Authorities at the hospital are optimistic that once the works are done, the hospital will be in position to offer up-to-date services.
We expect actually the morale is going to increase because now people will be working with water, constant electricity. Because
the works are expected to run for 18 months.
Good news for the health sector in Uganda. And that's all we had for you in today's morning bulletin. Brian, what do we have as the top story in today's Daily Monitor?
Is this Okwalinga man going to be declared an enemy of the state? Well, we'll be looking at that and more in the press review coming up.
Is brought to you by Uganda Telecom. It's all about you.
Well, it's the 29th of April 2014. I was going to say of February, and I remembered, depending on what year, you can't have that date.
Which one?
29th of February.
There are people who were born on, yes, 29th.
How do they celebrate their birthday?
I'm still single.
God may bring that one. But those are some of the confusing.
Yeah, it's an odd one. But well, you choose to celebrate it on the 28th when 29th is off. When that lunar year is not available. It comes once, I think, in 4 years.
It doesn't make sense. Well, the press review powered by Uganda Telecom, where it's all about you. Simon is still not feeling well, but we're praying for him. You know, when you wake some muscles up that we're not used to, so we blame.
What, you're trying to blame Simon for old age or what?
Simon had a very long week of one walking the cross, obviously.
Oh yes, I
remember.
He did the way of
and
he came sweating. I'm going to walk all the way, and said, "Okay, we shall see."
And he, you know, he was dressed like a Texas Ranger, so obviously the boots
and the rain pounded them seriously.
Yes, the rain pounded, and now he went. After that, he went to Kofi Olomide. So really, the whole detective remanded over Kaihura tapes, and you can see Mr. Poteri, who was accused of leaking the police records, has been remanded to Luzira prison. Is this a good move by police?
It is, irrespective of my disagreement with the fact that, you know, General Kalechezi keeps interfering with the happenings in the NRM. That's not his job. For goodness sake, he's supposed to be a police officer serving all Ugandans. But when you see him meddling into the affairs of the NRM, trying to investigate, okay, who is trying to outsit who and that kind of thing, that's not the business of the police, for goodness sake, yeah?
Right.
But for a detective side of Kaihura's bread is battered, we know which side it does belong to.
Right.
It is good for us, yeah, but it's not good for the security of this country. Tomorrow it might be, you know, some terrorism-related kind of recordings, and it goes out there leaking. You don't want that to happen. So this fellow should be remanded.
Mr. Potter is a representation of many, some may say, of disgruntled officers who have
snatched away from, you know, the head of police. That sends shivers down the spines of many Ugandans. They need to be a lot more careful, you know. But you talk about disgruntled police officers, a good number of them they are not paid real good, yeah, and sometimes the pay doesn't even come on time. So, you know, leaking these tapes, I'm sure this guy bagged quite a bit of money. There's many people that would pay a hefty sum to lay their hands on such tapes, you know. So it's very unfortunate, but there you have it. Now, here in the Daily Monitor, we're told government unveils new medicine to treat jiggers. So for those of you that live in Bupa, Dengo, Sijui, I don't know where do you come from.
I was very lucky that I passed my village almost, you know, once in a while. And I'm very lucky to have been born, you know, near here in NTV. We see the Queen all the time.
Yeah, but your village is
for me, you know, you bring medicine to treat jiggers. Then what?
What we're dealing with now is the curative aspect. We are bringing medicine. People are struggling with jiggers. I saw the other day a kid with jiggers in the mouth everywhere. I was thinking, hey, how does this happen? So we need to look at the, you know, preventative ways of dealing with
about
this.
3 years ago, I was in Jinja, and we went to this village, just about 10 minutes out of Jinja town. And we talked to this gentleman who was jigger infested. But the people told us that this man, one, he had pigs. Two, he drank a lot of alcohol. So obviously when he went to, after doing his thing, he came back, slept next to the pigs. You bring all this medicine.
And some of them fear showering. I don't know for what reason. Not long ago, there's a man somewhere in Chengera. I used to live in Chengera. This guy had, he was a bit mad. You know, he had lived for many years without showering. The day they decided to shower this guy, in the evening, the guy died.
You're joking.
They get jiggers, they say they've bewitched me, so they don't even go for medicine. They go, I don't know where. No, we need to shower.
Well, in August 2013, it was reported that more than 300 families were infested with jiggers in Mayuge. Just 2 years after, government launched a campaign to curb the spread of parasites in Busoga region. And for me, you know, save for Busoga, this is...
Talking about this disease, you know, they say we have so far established that patients do not have Ebola and cholera, going by the first samples. That's according to the Ministry of Health.
Right.
Still in the Daily Monitor, NRM disowns youth leader. Now, here is what the... I like it when people get to confess, sometimes unknowingly. This is Ofono Opondo, the deputy spokesperson of the NRM party. Is also... because he thinks he can use the apparent confusion in the party. This is Ofono Opondo confessing.
So he's confessing that there is
confusion. You know, he's doing this because he thinks he can use the apparent confusion in the party to achieve his ambitions. The president has not assigned him, and there is nothing like a national coordinator, etc., etc. Big ups to you, Ofono Opondo. It is one of those few times that I get to agree with you. Many times I don't agree with what he says, but when he comes out and he confesses...
Do many, even in other parties, do many young people use the vacuums in the parties to take up leadership? Or, you know, some of the leadership, for lack of a better word, is so
to do, you know. So sometimes they think if they impersonate as I am the head of this kind of thing and make a little bit of noise, they will be called and given responsibilities and facilitated, you know, which is unfortunate. You see it literally in every party, like you're saying. And many people believe that even for those people that are making noise in the opposition,
they will be very careful. Well, we want to remind you that you're watching the press review, proudly powered by Uganda Telecom, where it's all about you. NTV broke the story of the police break. Now, what is in a shocking twist? Yes, police had 4 suspects who fled cell.
But I can say this as unequivocally as I possibly can. There is connivance.
How?
I don't believe that these guys just ran away because, okay, it could be that, you know, the people guarding them are very careless, but I want to believe these guys who are guarding them do connive with them in one way or another. They're given something and they run away.
Very easy to escape. Because in there, these guys...
So why did you escape?
No, mine was different. Why would I escape when I knew I was going to get out? But there's a neatly, there's a network of guys. And if these guys wanted to cause... There's this cooperation in there. And so if they were to say, we are going to escape, they can do it.
Because it's possible, but I do not believe it's exclusively done without knowledge of some of these police officers. They do know, for goodness sake, if they can want him to be available, avail some accountability, and that kind of thing.
Right.
We still see a delayed approval of building plans hurting economy. MPs say there's many buildings in Kampala that just spring up, there's no parking, but they find themselves there, you know.
I want to upload KCCA, and there was a story in the papers about Forest Mall going to be, you know, taken back into the hands of KCCA because the owner initially was supposed to build a hotel.
And, you know, like some 2 prominent buildings somewhere there, you know the building I'm talking about. Then there's a hotel not too far from this place that is in a road reserve.
Yes.
In a very wanton manner. I think this needs to be capped.
Well, you can join KFM and NGO Forum, and they'll be organizing a live debate, and they've called watch out. So please, if you get some time, head over to Hotel Africana.
You want to tell us what is in this good paper of yours, but as you check that out, stop bribing Ugandans on 2016 elections, Father Gaitan hotels, government. Okay, nice to hear. Another one that is raising a lot of dust, Christian University suspends 3 girls over pregnancy. Example to the rest is one institution that is founded on religion.
Wow, that is absolute bull crap, if you ask me. This is, and you know, we hosted the representative of UCU the other time. You can't fail to expel. You don't expel people who have filmed pornographic material willing to go on with school.
I think it's the same thing that that young people should engage in sex after marriage. Yeah, that should be the way to go. But when this happens, for goodness sake, we all fall in many different ways. You know, you might not sleep around, but you know, each of us is full of crap.
Yeah.
Probably the difference is. Well, I think young people, when this happens, they need not to be pushed away. You know, this is the time they actually need us the most to encourage them, to have this child, because now many of them, when they get this stigmatized, they're thinking, okay, this child is done causing me all these problems, let me abort this child. And in the process, that endangers their lives. Yeah, so this is the time to reach out to these young people. Senior Presidential Advisor Salim Saleh saying that he will not seek renewal of his contract, which expires next year. Now, the Katuni and the Daily Monitor says resigning at such a young age, citing old age, and they say, sorry, you won't make we old-timers feel guilty.
Right.
Who are the old-timers? Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, in the red paper, this was going to stand for president. But also said, well, the man has continuously said, I can't stand against the president. Because I believe, you know, that's how those are the rules in the NRM. Now, the President Museveni here has met and
what do you expect?
Accusing him of giving them peanuts.
Yeah, which goes to show what it is that these young people are after. They're just trying to trade themselves for a certain fee. So even the noise they've been making all this while, they're just trying to raise the level of how much. 5 years ago, they could be bought at 10 million shillings. Now they've raised it to 100 million shillings or that kind of thing, which is very unfortunate. So you keep thinking, all right, who is for ideas and who is just selling themselves out?
Right. Well, you know, if you ask me, we still have the young people that are close to our politicians are still there. It's still not going to change anything. Well, you can grab yourself a copy of the red paper for details of that story. But I don't know if this is gossip or. But
what is that?
East Africa's fastest growing university rewards best innovators, and so Bitature unveils St. Lawrence's 2014 Innovation Awards. The key word here, I guess, is innovation, John. What happens to our innovation after kids have come out with all these things? Winsenga up.
Talk about innovation, I think it's a good thing. Yeah, we need to up our game. The other day I saw these young people at Makerere University that they said they manufactured that car. I like to think they assembled it.
Yes, they assembled.
Because they, you know, imported a good number of these products. But albeit, I think that's very innovative.
Our very own Planet Care's Phoebe Nekesa. You know, some of these kids inspire me to, you know, every time I look at my son, I'm like, Wanange, you had better start to speak English when you're like 2.
You know?
You know?
And you're there speaking with the bread. What language do you know? So why do you speak English?
But it is the official, you know, language of communication, period. Yeah, but on the side I'll tell him mwana wange.
When you grow up, don't be like me.
Right.
What's here? All right.
As to your eyesight, and I know most of the kids are going to be doing that in this holiday. Parents,
on average, I am told, well, it's in the US. Uganda, we don't have statistics, but in the US, already have children who think you're wrong. So ruminate over that, think over it slowly but surely until it sinks.
You know,
as we spend time at home.
I was thinking
preaching water and drinking wine.
Right.
But of course, yes, if you are smoking and into some of these things, don't encourage your child to do them.
Right.
Even though you don't have the moral authority to tell them not to do them anyway.
Well, the ID project is still going on. Of course, our officials at the Ministry of Internal Affairs saying that more than 50% has been covered as far as parishes are concerned.
That's a lie.
Registration kits are going.
That's a lie. 50%?
Yeah.
Of those that are meant to be registered?
Well, this morning the deputy
was seeing on ground. Each person being, you know, registered for about an hour. Kits are being shared, you know, between parishes, and you're telling me right now they've registered 50%. I'd like to look at those figures. I don't
ID officials have been told that don't turn away locals without valid documents.
Actually, they say even if you have nothing at all, you turn up. And it's a good thing. I think let people show up. We need to have IDs. But let's make sure the process is organized, smooth, you know. And the people attending to these people should be a little bit nicer, because some of these people do not know English. They are not educated. You know, so when you give them a hard time and you're asking them questions and they can't answer them and you make them look like fools, yet some of them are twice your age, it's not right.
Well, the Champions League obviously is going to be back and Real Madrid will feel Bayern's heat, says Robin. That's what we want. Well, we'll be talking on sport later with Isma. And of course, we want to remind you that the press review powered by Uganda Telecom, where it's all about you. Well, Mabel.
But first, U.S. sanctions target Putin's inner circle. We do know that Obama is concluding his tour of the Far East. And the beautiful picture here of Prince George, as well as he has been touring with his very famous parents. And on BBC, a lot is coming in from Korea. North Korea warns of live firing drills of people lost their lives. We also have a second night of deadly U.S. tornadoes through the southern states, I think. And yeah, hearts and prayers are with the people who have been devastated by the storm. So that has been the press review.
Now. You can be a millionaire. Answer the phone, just answer the phone. Yeah. Answer the phone, just answer the phone. Don't miss that call. Don't miss loads of cash from Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Uganda Telecom. It's all about you. Answer calls on your mobile or landline, and one of them could make you a millionaire.
Just receive calls on your Uganda Telecom number. You could win up to 1 million shillings every day.
The more calls you receive, the higher chances of winning.
There will be a winner every hour, every day. Miss loads of cash from Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Uganda Telecom. It's all about you. Every idea we have begins with you, with the world around you.
Your relationship with your God is the most important thing. Have a company of people who have got a similar mind. How do you want people to think, feel, and act after your talk? In other words, what's your objective?
You inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika abamu bajja ne babakima era twagenda mu Lukoola eyo nakasongola mu Buluuri twagenda mu Butale Babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo tobeera mu ssuuti ate ng'oteeka mu gganduula olina kubeerako kimu kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was how?
I went to the nurse and asked why. Why is it that
the Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette.
Enthusiastics? Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How'd he do that?
Mega Rangers?
Yeah!
That's a mega win!
Hello!
King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
Ow! SpongeBob!
The 29th of April. To some of your messages, Sunday Chef Yusuf says, good morning to whoever is watching Morning at NTV in Masindi. What a blessed morning. Thank you so much for that message. After getting pregnant. And Derek says, Brian, do you know that people can die when they are forced to take a bath? This is referring to the people of Eastern Uganda whom Joel said actually that they die.
As we see two former popes being canonized into sainthood. Now of course the billion plus Catholics around the world are ecstatic about this, but of what relevance is this to these Catholics, and how is it in many ways going to change the somewhat belief? Welcome to The Big Story. My name is Joel Senyonyi. Joining me this morning are two Catholics. They tell me they are very dedicated, in as far as their faith is concerned. Next to me is Henry Muhebwa. Henry is a member of the Archdiocese of Mbarara Development Association. Good to have you here, Henry. He's also a very dedicated Catholic. Good to have you here, Alex.
Thank you.
You're doing all right?
I am doing fine.
Good for
Maybe
you.
You should tell the viewers that I was being trained to become Pope Francis.
I see.
Yeah.
Good. Jamie, Henry, these two gentlemen have been canonized. Many people look up to them a great deal. You know, I saw many people getting excited and thinking, all right, I'm not a Catholic, so I was trying to understand the significance of this. What would it be?
Basically, the significance of these two popes where they were courageous and faithful to their religion. And therefore, we as Christians or non-believers, we should take in and learn from them on what they have done. If we take an example like of Pope John Paul II, when he became Pope, he was the first non-Italian Pope for over 400 years, but he came here and said, do not be afraid. That was his catchword, or when he basically, the church was a bit conservative, but calling the Second Vatican II Council, it was revolutionary. And that's why, given that courage of taking in, stepping in the uncharted territory in the Catholic Church, it was represented, and that's why we have to honor these two popes. Therefore, we as Christians and Catholics, we must live exemplary lives like how these guys took courage in order to be able to spread the gospel around the world.
He talks about, you know, a saint in him in the making.
Well, you could say that Pope Francis, there's always a buzz around Pope Francis because you know he's, you know, actually people tend to misunderstand that he's over-liberalizing the church. Pragmatist, so his approach is pragmatism, which is kind of endearing him to masses. I think he's one of the popes that are attracting the highest crowds wherever he goes, and I think that is very good for the church. John Paul II, who was the people's pope, then we came in Pope Benedict, who was kind of very conservative, and so Pope Francis' approach has actually been pragmatism, and
Henry, one of the reasons these two, I find it very odd that I've got to pray through a human being who is a sinner just like me, perhaps, and even more sinner. Well, we're saying these two gentlemen are, you know, guys that lived exemplary lives and that kind of thing. But then many people think, look, I should have, why is it that Catholics don't seem to have direct access to their God? They've got to go through human beings, who in this case are saints.
Okay, I think let me clarify this. Saints, by that, to be a saint, you don't need to be perfect. No. It's not even the Pope who makes saints, it's God who makes saints. But for the miracles, I'll give it to Alex. Yeah, but to me, the whole instance is that these people are our leaders in faith. Now, when they go, we
a sinner like me to access to my God, because you see, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, my sins are very many, yeah, and I find it's very difficult for any human being to handle my many sins. That's why I need to go directly to my God.
No, of course. Basically, we have hierarchies in the Catholic Church, yeah, and the way we pray and all that. That's why we have different devotions. We may not go say that maybe it's basically about, or give me more graces on how I can be able to handle my life situations. So that's the same way. It's also, you're trying also to communicate through God, but also we are also using these ones as a mirror, yeah, to show us what life.
Virgin Mother of Jesus is another that people say they've attained miracles as they pray through her. And again, the Catholic Church has been accused of idolatry. Why? Because there's all these, portraits of Mary, the Virgin Mother, they're carrying Jesus or whatever the case might be. And Catholics are seen to kneel before these portraits and praying to them and that kind of thing. And it is very clearly spelled out in one of the 10 commandments. There are 10 commandments and not 10 suggestions, yeah, that you should worship no idols. And people think, look, these people seem to be worshipping idols.
No, it's not actually about worshipping idols. As Henry said, it's the way the Catholic Church is structured. You have the Pope, you have the bishops, you have the priests, you have everybody. So it is the way you want to pray to God. It's not actually worshipping idols as you put it.
But I think I see Catholics kneeling before them and praying to them, and I'm thinking,
absolutely, the structure of the Catholic Church, it is conservative. It is people have.
No, I think Alex, let me give it like you must be having a photo of your mother, yeah, somewhere, whether your father.
I don't worship my mother. She's an awesome lady. I just spoke to her a few minutes ago, but she's human like me.
Yes,
a sinner like me.
When you look at her photo, it reminds you of your mother, but you don't need to necessarily to worship The mother. What we do, we don't worship. We just venerate the what? Those statues. We don't worship them.
Okay, the Catholic Church has, for some time now, been beleaguered with lots of happenings. You know, abuses by men of God. You know, I want to believe, you know, of course, not setting a good example like these two that were canonized. And people are beginning to think, all right, what went wrong? You know, if men of God were supposed to be reaching out to these people, helping them get their lives better, abusing young people, you know, we've heard of sodomy cases. You've heard of all this. What is happening to the Catholic Church?
I think, presenter, I think we have to make it very clear that we don't live in a perfect world.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So therefore, there are some instances we have seen also in the Catholic Church, there are also the good people, and also may have some other people who have issues. And therefore, of course, basically, the ones, basically, as Pope Francis has been very clear that whoever comes out and tries to do any mischief will be punished. You can see what he has done with the bank and all that, yeah. So we don't live in a perfect society. All organizations also have issues, corruption, and all other things. But what we believe is that the most important thing is the faith, yeah. To me, even if whatever the Pope has done this and that, to me what matters is my faith with my God, yeah. That's what's more important as a Catholic. Yeah.
Alex, these two popes, former popes that were canonized as saints, like you did say, you know, many people attributed certain miracles to them. I think the lady and some other people. And many people are wondering how real, how authentic are these miracles? Because you see, well, I believe in miracles and God has performed some good miracles for me. But for one to come out and say, I prayed through this saint and this miracle happened, I find it a little bit odd, difficult to authenticate that, you know, because it could be many reasons. She could have been sick, she's been on medication, and finally she has recuperated, she's now all right. It could have been that the disease was actually psychological. Sometimes when you feel, I am going to get well, you actually get well, you know. So how do we authenticate these miracles so we can canonize these two gentlemen and saints?
I think for Pope, the Blessed Pope John Paul II, I think the miracles are very clear. They happened after even in his death.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying, how do we authenticate them? If somebody comes up and says,
there is a process
where
there is a process within the Vatican where the miracles are investigated and authenticated. And that process is very clear to everybody, to every Catholic.
Tell me a bit about that. I know our time is running up, but how do you authenticate them?
No, what happens is, that's why there must be specific miracles. You see, you cannot talk about like a financial miracle. That one they do not go with it. But we have, where we can have a third-party verification. So that's why there are medical doctors who are involved. We find that this person was sick, yeah? And was sick, and even the doctors had even written him or her off, that this person cannot be cured. But because of praying through a saint, like that time when it was Blessed Pope John Paul II, and the person gets better. Then now, you find that the doctor who's treating, they must submit those reports and say...
Now, what I'm not disputing is that somebody can get better. That can happen, yeah? But what I'm trying to understand is the attribution of that particular transition or healing in this particular case to this particular Pope who passed on years
No, yeah, it means the emphasis, you see that time the person says, when I was deep down in my worries, I prayed through Pope John Paul II and I was healed. That faith is enough to ensure that this person, and even there are medical reports to show that at this time he was worse, and because of this, he or she improved from one stage to another stage, yeah.
Catholics are 1 billion people in this world, and that's a huge number. You are the biggest religion, if we are to call it, yeah. And one would think your conservatism and the way you do things should better the world in many ways, you know. Of course, sometimes people think, hey, wait a minute, these guys are too extreme, yeah. But there's many good things about conservatism. But we seem to see the world tearing apart, and one would think this mass of 1 billion plus people, is it that they are not doing as much of their role as they should be doing, Alex?
No, it is true, the Catholic the Church is conservative. But sometimes it depends on what kind of leadership do we have in place. For example, you are asking about what can the Catholics do in the world. I think with his pragmatism, Pope Francis has shown that he actually put a mark and stopped a war that was about to happen in Syria. And he has, you know what is happening between the Western world.
A war that was about to happen in Syria?
Yeah.
The last time I checked, there's actually war in Syria.
No, I mean there was going to be third-party intervention. There was going to be American intervention, and he said we do not want the third world war to happen here, and it actually stopped. So really, it's about leadership, it's about pragmatism, it's about application. I think we have currently the right kind of leadership in place for the Catholic Church to have a lot of positive impact on the world.
And you talk about the conservatism of the Catholic Church, which has its good bits and its not so good bits, at least in my opinion. I want to believe that you realize that there seems to be a massive exodus of young people, especially from the Catholic Church to, you know, other denominations, the Pentecostals especially, to which I belong, though some people like to think of it as a religion. I do not belong to a religion. I subscribe to a faith in our Lord and Savior. But there's many young people that have metamorphosed from Catholicism to something else. And I've interacted with a number of young people. They say, look, these guys are boring, you know, and the way they do things is a little bit slow. Young people are hip and very animated and excited, and they want to serve their Lord with that gusto, and that doesn't seem to happen in the Catholic Church. So we are seeing very many people. The other day I had Dr. Cyprian Chizito calling on young people saying, look, don't remain in your traditional faith, you know, that is where God placed you, you should serve him that way. And many young people are saying, look, I do not feel this thing, and that is why they move. That should worry you.
No, I'm not worried. First and foremost, it depends on our outlook in life. Some of us went through the seminary training. We are more of the conservative side. We can't change. We are that. But like enough, we are happy that the Holy Spirit helped us within the Catholic Church and introduced a new organization under the Catholic Church called the Charismatic Renewal. So the people who have been seeking for that hype music, the raw whatever music, they are now finding it in the Catholic Church. So I don't see why someone should be shifting, because what they wanted that side has now been brought home. You can see if you went to Bukarango, yeah, Mount Zion, Bukarango, you see what takes place there. In Namugongo, you can see on 3rd June. So you see that there is a renewal. Yes, those who have gone because they thought the church was conservative and all that and the traditional, they are coming back. But again, they must remember that we have principles of the Catholic Church which we must follow. We must have Mass. We must recite the Rosary. However boring it is, however thing it is, it's about your attitude on how you want to take those the things that are at your disposal, on how you want to take about them. Otherwise, the Catholic Church is live, and we are even getting more and more people. Even after this canonization, I believe we're going to get as more youth coming in the Catholic Church.
I hope so. We need to begin rapid this time. Our time is up.
I think it's a hype. I'm not sure that the Catholic Church is losing numbers, especially on young people.
I've seen a good number of them.
No, show me the numbers. Show me the numbers.
I told you I was in church many of Sunday, nearly every Sunday.
And actually, I think 70% of the congregation.
No, but I was with you. Now you know that this is happening. Then what is causing it? You need to consider that first of all it is happening.
There is a national census happening in Uganda. I think this year or next year. I will be interested in seeing how many people the Catholic Church has lost, especially in the young segment, to those so-called. I mean, show me the number. It's just a hype. It's a hype.
You don't think it's happening at all?
It happens.
All right. One final question. One other thing that troubles some people is that I see with the Catholics, you are not allowed to read the Bible on your own. The Reverend Father has got to read it for you in church, interpret it for you. There's no kind of encouragement of, okay, I've read the scripture for you. Go home, ruminate over it yourself, research about it somewhere, because these men of God sometimes do make mistakes. And besides, the relationship with God should be between me and my God, you know. I do not need to run to a father and, you know, and I'm not in any way lambasting you. I'm just trying to understand why do people do things this way. You know, I need to go and confess my sins to a father when I'm to read my Bible. No, the Reverend Father's got to do it for me. And I'm thinking, look, me and my God are in talking terms. Yeah, why should I have to go through a third party to access my God, you know, to confess my sins? This person should be the one to read the Bible for me. And that is a little bit disturbing.
No, of course, I don't want to go for the pen, I think, because it may take time. But for this case, in the interest of time, let's talk about the Bible. I think no one has been stopped to read the what? The Bible.
Yeah, perhaps you're not encouraging them as in
No, but let me tell you, because of the charismatic renewal, everyone now, people are going for Bible studies and are being taught about how to read the Bible and interpret the Bible. But you see, the whole essence is that what you think the priest reading for us, it's because we have said we have readings for the daily readings. The readings that I've read in Uganda, like today I requested the king, are the same readings that have been read in the Vatican. So we have the set readings every day from Monday to Sunday. So those are specifically for that particular day. If it's for Easter, you talk about the resurrection. If it's Christmas, you talk about the birth of Jesus. But after that, you in your private time, you're supposed to get time and meditate on the Bible.
Meditate on the Bible, it is.
Yeah, and now most congregations are coming up and are teaching about the Bible. So no one has been stopped reading about the Bible.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you here. I hope you keep practicing the faith that you believe in. And we see how we make this world a better world.
Okay.
My opinion is coming up in a bit. The second and Pope John the 23rd were canonized as saints over the weekend, and among the many reasons that was given for this gentleman's canonization was because they lived exemplary lives. They were good people, they served their God, they served their people, and one would think that is a virtue that is lacking a great deal among humanity today. We see people living in a very wanton manner for self-aggrandizement, and as the 1 billion plus Catholics look up to these people, could we see a metamorphosis of the way we do things, that we begin to actually emulate these gentlemen, the way they do things? We've said it again and again. Uganda, we are told, has about 80 to 90% of our population being Christians. Can we begin to see that being replicated in the way we do things, in our operations, whatever it is that you do? Can you be a good one? I keep saying it again and again. Whatever you are, be a good one, like Abraham Lincoln once did say. So let's try and begin to put this good religion of ours into practice, albeit I'm not subscribed to religion. I think we need to connect more to a faith which should help us to become a better country and ultimately a better world. Can we do that? Enough said. That's the big story for this morning. Morning at NTV continues. So long, everybody.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
I was going to my hall, someone came from my back and was
how? I
went to the nurse and asked why is it that our father is negative and for us we are positive.
Every time I find a story of assault of one person to another, I get disturbed.
Mwayombi ekiro lwaleeta suzeewo lwe bakwokeza nazeepoza kimu nti mujja wange yanjokeza
kino ekyafa kino kyali kyakulira muno mu lubuto.
The Irene I know just loves music and loves to sing. I've never seen her even smoke a cigarette. The days of legal trade in slaves are history, following its abolition in the 1800s.
They tie you like this. That's when I started getting past.
Everybody has a story, but yours will only become our story when you share it.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagenda mu Lukoola eyo ina Kasongola mu Buluuri twagenda mu Butale Babalaaro
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate n'oteeka mu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina
olabira abaganda baagala kabaka
I'm going to blow your mind and I'm going to twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very powerful. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
Oluvannyuma lwa lutalo abaana bangi batwalibwa ab'ekika era bulala basigadde
abamu bajja ne babakima
era twagende mu Lukoola eyo ina Kasongola mu Buluuri twagende mu Butale Babalaaro okubuuza omwana oyo mumanyi
nti mukwate obutonde obwekonkome mukwate obutonde bwa Ebola mubuteeke mu nsigo omuzungu ayogedde palamenti muyise bosi basajja
omulembe guno gutuusemu n'abantu n'entondo kati waliwo n'emyaka egy'entondo
waliwo yakiŋŋamba
bamugamba muŋŋambe bulungi kati munkwate empola
dokita buli akwata bayibuli eno ajja kusomera bintu nga ye bw'alowooza. For example, waliwo controversy yaliwo
tobeera mu ssuuti ate ng'oteekamu gganduula
olina kubeerako kimu
kubanga okusomesezza tumaze emyaka 2 tusomesa bannayuganda eddembe lyammwe mulimanyi oluusi n'obusobozi obulina
nakulabira abaganda baagala kabaka
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of Deception.
Kati gw'obadde mu closet yo ani ogenze mu ngoye zo yonna gy'ozitereka n'otuukira kwolwo nga lwe lukusingidde mu ngoye zo zonna z'olina.
Anti Lydia neera ensonga lwaki lwenyambadde kuba lwe lusingayo omulembe.
Evelyn, thank you for everything.
Ati dani zemane ndowooza oba abasajja mbave convince kaleka ndi wa bukaddi. I think kyekisinga.
No! The right man will come. And when he does, you will know it.
You're not going anywhere.
I'm sorry.
Chris, you're not meeting that woman. You're not leaving this house.
Deception.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Mulondo.
Well, it's 10 minutes after 8. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. And before the break, we had Joel Senyonyi on the big story with Henry Muhebwa and Alex Atuhire. And we're looking at the relevance of the canonization of the popes, especially with more than 1 billion Catholics all over the world celebrating this. Vatican was literally, packed to the rafters yesterday and on Sunday. And of course, what does this mean for the Catholic Church? Ultimately, not just because of the canonization of the popes, but moving forward, what is the direction of the Catholic Church? A couple of things that the two gentlemen, talked about. I said these popes showed courage by stepping into uncharted territories. And Henry is saying that you do not need to be perfect to be a saint. And he also said, we don't call it worshipping idols. Of course, Joel asked him, why do you have to pray through people? We've seen Mary Magdalene and, of course, people that are, for lack of a better word, interceding on behalf of the believers. And Henry is saying, we don't call it worshipping idols. We venerate the examples of these figures. And people are now going for Bible studies because of the charismatic renewal. And your comments, your feedback on these, some of these statements at Biekwaso Stephen saying, I would call it the renewal of the church, not the old ways of Bible study. And someone reacting also to Bible study saying, though there are those who go to Bible studies to hook up babes and guys, and it's kind of weird. Let us know what you think about this. Do you think he's also likely to be named a saint? And we'll be letting you know, what goes on as far as that is concerned. For the rest of you that have retweeted all our comments, thank you so much. Now, Mabel is standing by with your birthday wishes, and of course, Mabel, who is very lucky to be born this morning.
Well, I will be telling you right after this.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, today we would like to say a very happy birthday to one of our very own, Nelson Nwaha, who is a cameraman here at NTV. We'll also be saying happy birthday to Winnie Kihembo. Actually, that's a beautiful name. It means gift, who is an executive assistant at Fabulous Studios. And Andre Agassi, many of us remember him as at one point he was the world #1 in the tennis world. And also Uma Thurman celebrates her birthday today. Remember, there is no dream that is unattainable. Andre Agassi has gone on to have a very successful career. Now on to some of your messages this morning. We have Hilo Heaven saying that was professional interviewing, and that was, I think, regarding the story on the Catholic canonization. And James Jr. saying happy, it's a good morning where he is. And someone says here, I have saved 500,000 from my teaching salary, friends. I wish to start a business to supplement my salary. Please give me some kind business ideas for this capital. And I think the person is responding to something we had talked about yesterday. And someone here, Michael Jays, says, I'm just very glad because I got the amount of money I wanted. So how do I begin a business? And I think Brian and I will be talking a little bit about that later on in the show. But do keep your messages coming in. We have 12,233 likes. If you haven't yet liked our Facebook page, I do not know what you're waiting for, but there's a lot of interaction, a lot of information. You get to see pictures from behind the scenes, and you can post whatever you want. Let us know if you'd like to come to your area. Let us know topics you'd like us to discuss here on Morning at NTV. Even if you're just saying hello, like Brian Aweko, who says, hi Brian, hi Brian and your members, thanks for the show, I enjoyed. Thank you for all those messages. If you have any feedback for us, we will take it graciously. We shall now hand you over to Brian for the HTC moment. Brian. Yes, Brian. What's the HTC moment today?
Mabel, thank you so much. If you're lucky to be born this morning, I would have sung for you, but I have a very moving voice. If I sing, you'll go away. And, well, this morning, the HTC moment, of course, powers everyday life. And I want to encourage you to head over to the HTC hub at Forest Mall, and you can grab one of the models. Last week, we gave out 4 phones, and tomorrow we'll be back with another question that you will answer, and on Friday we give out another model. The M8 is out, finally out, so you can also get it at about 2.5 million shillings. Just, you know, chipa chapa, but it makes so much sense if you are tired of katiki-tiki and batteries that last for, you know, 2 minutes. I see one of my guests here, a simu charging, you know, things are like that. But here, it's definitely powering for 2, given that it's a smartphone and all the apps are active. Takes you for 2 days, so you recharge, you know, after 2 days. Go and get yourself the HTC phone this morning. Tomorrow, I'll have a question for you to answer. Coming up is Everyday Life.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Well, our brothers and sisters are back from school, and that explains probably the traffic that is not in the city, but also we know that there's going to be very soon flooding of these guys at supermarkets, at swimming pools, in bars, and that is one of the most, disheartening things. But this morning I'm joined by two brilliant young people, John Kore, who is literally becoming our in-house young specialist, and Gloria. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you also a vacationer?
Yes.
Yeah, I learned that you don't say vacist.
That's not English.
That's not English.
Oh, okay. I'm learning.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I want us today to look at the influence of peer pressure on how our young people work. One, what makes it so susceptible for you guys to easily fall? I know these are the people you relate with, but you know what is good and right. But why do you go on and take it?
Why most teenagers or young people take on peer pressure? They want to feel good about themselves, for example. If my friends are going for a movie or something, or they're going to watch pornography or anything, and why wouldn't I follow them to feel part of the crowd, to feel I'm among the cool girls or the cool boys around or something? But if you set yourself apart, you might get the words, people might talk for you, they might blabber so much for you.
But you know what is good and right, Gloria? And for a girl, well, you've watched pornography, yes. Do you feel good at the end of the day, like, man, I watched pornography, I'm the baddest babe ever?
You feel proud depending on where you are. If you're among people who do not do it, you will definitely not feel proud. Right. But if you're with people who feel good about it, who watch porn, definitely you're going to also feel good about the pornography you've watched, for example.
For guys, they'll take you on smoking and you weed, drinking. Man, I go to the supermarkets and I see kids shopping toxic beverages. And I'm thinking to myself, well, even in my days when I was a bad guy, I never did this stuff.
Yeah. It is the energy that we have. I would want to say that we want to try out this, we want to try out that. If it's smoking, let me try it out. Even if it chokes you for the first time, you'd think it's a good thing, because you've seen cool people do it, like Gloria said. Cool people, cool in bad in quotes, because it's not really cool. It damages and it has very many disadvantages. But because people have seen the good way about it, so you will try to do it. It is the energy. I want to play bako. Everybody plays bako. It's a high school thing. Everybody will play
bako. Is cool, eh? Bako
even if you're short. Even if you're short, you go play bako, because everybody is playing bako. Right. Likewise, alcohol, man. Who doesn't? Who doesn't? And in that bracket of cool, you think, I want to be a cool person. Even if at home there is kawunyemu at your door, you'll try to hide it and take at least a bottle or two to fit into the society. Right. So it's the energies that we have.
Speaking of energies, for girls, you have challenges of boys going on and on. Again, my tagline this morning is going to be, really, you know what the right thing is. But somehow, you pursue, you allow all these boys to, you kind of do things so that more than 10 boys will look for Gloria. Yeah.
Yes, we call it adventure. You want to get to, since you are young and definitely I'm not committed to anyone, let me try there, try that. And at the end of the day, many girls love it when many boys are chasing them. True, many girls do. If I have over 10 boys on my case, definitely I'll feel very happy about it and I will love it. So we do all those things to get the cool boys following you, because apparently the cool boys get you the fame. For example, in the schools, they get you famous if you're dating the basketballer and the who. Definitely, you're also going to have to force yourself to live a lifestyle for the cool people. And yes, many girls love it when many boys chase them. So they will do anything to actually get there.
What was your story, your experience in school?
I was different. As a leader in school, so I was the epitome of good. Maybe for me it is different. Because as a leader, you want to be exemplary. You want teachers to talk good about you. You want also to get the ultimate of your students, because you're teaching them something. And then the other thing is of course, I'm a Christian, I'm born again, so you want to live out your spiritual life also in that academic setting. So my experience was more of, let me teach these guys the good way, because
you are the annoying SU Scripture Union head prefect.
Yeah.
What a combination.
When you get students trying to jump a dormitory fence in the DC immediately with no question, because I want to be the epitome of good manners in the society. So for me it is different. Maybe the others it's different, because the atmosphere, I know a friend of mine who is actually my best friend. When he gets to school, he's probably not known by very many people. He goes and engages in the things that are there. You know, if it is jumping up fences, it is the same crime. If it is playing bako, if it is, you know, crimes. And there's a common rule, virginity is lack of opportunity. So
really,
the point that's what
it is a high school thing.
Are saying. It is a high school thing, and it's there all over the place. And
opportunity
it is annoying
to have a guy,
absolutely,
or a babe.
And you see, not to only have a guy, to act out the guy, sex, which is, I think, wrong, epitomally wrong. It is totally wrong. So for me, as the annoying guy, if there is if there is a loophole somewhere, I make the place zipped up.
Still, personally, I was first of all in a single school. Then, for example, I was a leader too. I was the deputy head girl at my school. So still, we had to follow the rules.
You are also annoying. I'm with two annoying people this morning. All right.
And I wasn't really annoying as such, but we never had we had cool stuff, but my school is a kind of school where you wouldn't feel the social difference, for example. Because it's everyone would, you would hang out with the rich people, you'd hang out with the, not broke guys, because if we're all in the same school, then we are a bit equal. But you would never feel the social class difference, or the cool people are there, and you're not cool. And yes, as a leader, I definitely have to be exemplary.
I know schools where the rich kids were definitely defined. You know, this is rich. I know kids that were from very poor families, and they were forced to bow down to the standards of, you know, the rich people, because they have to be accepted. Did you see those things in your own schools while you are in, you know, as a leader? Did you have to deal with such issues where, for example, poor child is even forced to steal from the rich kids?
Yes, there are those circumstances, mostly to the first world schools, because you want to be equal. You know, you're putting on the same school uniform, so what you dress is not the point. But the money and the canteen is the issue now. What I do during break time is the issue. What I eat during lunch time is the issue. Most especially,
who eats in the mess, who eats in the canteen?
Who eats in the canteen, or who dresses which type of shoe, or which vest. Simple nitty-gritties that actually do not matter at school. But I saw friends who came up to me and actually borrowed money for being this one's friend, because they eat at the canteen.
Really?
You know, yeah, we had a restaurant at school, so you know, you eat at a restaurant, you go and order for lunch timely, for you not to eat at the mess.
Wow.
So what used to happen is you go and eat at the canteen, you know. So those that cannot keep up to that standard are probably berailed. It is inward that they go down, their self-esteem goes down. Pity to those. Even some of them actually wash other people's clothes for income.
For money.
Absolutely. So
okay, girls are different, but what are the extreme things that this peer pressure thing brought in, that you saw kids doing, and you think to yourself, really, do you have to do this because of your friends?
Maybe. Okay, the extreme things where some people would leave. Okay, if there's this group in class that is, all powerful and all
the beautiful babes.
Yes, the beautiful girls and everything. Some of the girls, yes, would want to join them and be part, and they'll be forced to live a lifestyle that is not theirs. You probably see someone who has been a good girl all through O-level, then we come to HSC, and she somewhere she was bright, she somewhere gets entangled with these other girls. And you totally see a totally different lifestyle, completely. That is not her, you really see that is not her. And she's forcing herself, she abandons her former friends who were once there for her, and she gets to these other friends, and at the end of the day she either performs badly or she gets frustrated. That's when you get into wrangles of, you know, those girls who feel themselves, as we call it. They are not really people you can say they are your honest friends. No, they are either connected because we are rich, or because we are beautiful, or because we know the boys in the cool schools, something like that. So if you're not part of them officially, they are not going to be your real friends. So at the end of the day, you're going to have wrangles with them, because you're fighting for this one, then you're fighting for the other one, then, you know, you're trying to grab out maybe, let me say, for example, one friend, and then at the end of the day, you're frustrated.
You've talked about, you know, kids who had to even pay in advance for their lunches, just to stay in the clique, just to be part of the crew, you know. I had the opportunity, I guess, of testing both worlds. In my HSA, it was kind of better life. In my O-level, I used to walk to school. That's because, you know, it was close to my home, but I would walk for about 30 minutes to school. HSC, I was different, you know, I was a leader, so I had to kind of step it up. So I had to use taxis, stuff like that. But tell me some of the extreme things that drive, you know, there's alcoholism, smoking weed and all this. You are a leader, you saw some of the things that these kids do. What are the other things that they are forced to do because they have to stay part of the cool kids?
In my school, actually what has been cropping up is Cuba, the famous drug. I don't know who is bringing it into schools, but government at Yambe. Yeah, Cuba is totally exciting. People take it and it's every night. They say it hypes up the brain, so you keep awake, probably.
So do they use it to read?
Of course they use it to read, and I think that is the main agenda. But of course it has its side effects, because when you...
Do they get anything in the brain when they are reading?
You will forget everything, because it is under the influence of Cuba, not a sense that is normal. So you will just read and read and read and keep up to just reading, and then of course when you sleep in the morning you have forgotten everything, because the influence that you are reading is not a sober mind, but the drug. So when the drug is done in your body, you cannot remember everything and you have nothing totally. So Cuba was, I think, the extreme for my school. It was there, and then it was there, then we tried to kill it. But you see, people just keep on bringing it in their socks, in the bread, inside the bread. It is amazing.
You're kidding?
How people have tactics to bring it. As in the vest,
students,
even in the underwears. Amazingly, people just have the hype of this thing. Maybe it's the influence of the parents, or, you know, kusoma, yeah? But I think the extremes are totally extreme. It was totally bad, and it was there.
I want to challenge you guys. One, especially for you girls. You know, it's one, we've just seen you expelling 3 pregnant girls. And those are things that parents worry about. Like, Banange, I hope my child does not get pregnant in school. What do you expect, one, your parents to do for you, and how can you as individuals change that?
Change that. First of all, parents should learn what I believe parents should become their children's friends. To the extent where a child will actually tell you, "Mommy, I have this boyfriend." If you get that close with your child, then you're definitely going to guide that child what kind of boyfriend they're going to have.
Do you allow your parents into this? Because you kind of see them as old, they don't understand. You want to go to Garden City with your boyfriend, and Mommy tells Mukwano, "I've been there before, calm down." And you're like, "Mommy, you're so old-fashioned." Isn't that what you keep saying?
Not really. Actually, me, with the kind of mom I have, she understands these things.
So do you have a boyfriend? Thank you. Let's move on. Mommy, you've seen.
Thank you.
Let's go on.
Okay, the kind of mom I have, you can sit down and actually talk about boyfriends, you can talk about husbands, you can talk about an open talk with your sisters around. So you will give her your views about the kind of men you love to date, or the kind of men you meet in the future.
What kind of man do you love to date?
A man who challenges me generally.
Okay.
Challenge, yes, I love challenge.
Hey, you're a man in
a woman.
You're a man in a woman. All right, go on.
So you sit with her. So if parents develop that friendship with their children,
right,
they can actually tell, my child is actually going to love such kind of men. So if the parent feels that is wrong, because there are times where a child will say, "I love the bad man style, I love that boy who does this." You know, if you're jazzing, you might forget you're actually talking to your mother, and you talk and talk and talk everything, and at the end of the day you realize, "Oh my God, I was actually talking to my mother."
Right.
But then she will actually be able to tell my daughter, "You know what, the kind of men you're actually talking about, the ones you love, are actually not the right ones for you.
Right.
Then she can guide you in that direction. But if parents create this whole thing of, I'm old, you have curfew, I don't let you hang out with your friends, at the end of the day, people who have actually curfew are the ones who do the most, like the baddest thing. They're the ones who jump, for example, when they go to school because they have the opportunity there.
Right.
They're the ones who do so many things behind their parents' back. But if you open up to your parents, definitely they have been there before. I personally had a crazy mother before. I think she was even worse than me. But if with the way we talk, the way you talk about men and husbands and what, then you can tell. So that if parents open up to their children,
they'll bring them. What should young guys do? You know, boys have so much pressure. The girls are pressure. They need to, you know, smoke the weed and be the cool guy. We have videos from hip hop that is too much pressure for us. We need to be like, you know, LL Cool J or DMX. Okay, those are rappers that I remember back in my day. But those are the guys that we look up to, the Lil Waynes of this world. What should young men do to overcome peer pressure?
Yes, two things. Be good company to, I think we talked about this on Everyday Life last time. As in, your company corrupts your morals. Your company corrupts, obviously, because I can't have Brian as a friend who smokes and I'll be around him and I won't smoke. I will obviously smoke. But if Brian goes to church, he will say, John, where are you? Let's go to church. That will be the good company that matters. And I'm not saying that church is the only good company. I'm simply saying that there is moral that is basic to good company. You know, go to Garden City, but what are you doing? What are you experiencing there? Are you in club? Are you... Fine, go to club, but what are you doing? Or if you go to club, what is your motive for doing club? If you're watching a movie, what sort of movie are you watching? What is it that you're learning from that movie? So the company that you have usually... basically, you know, teaches you what to do. Because you will learn, you will need people to call up and say, by the way, I'm watching this sort of movie. And
you need to check it out.
Absolutely. Right. You will tell the person, you need to check it out. Because it is the trend, someone will check it out. So if it is porn-like PG, ping things, man, they will have to check it out. So the second thing, just be your father's friend. A guy, you have to be your father's friend. And cause it. I, for example, have a hard time hugging my father, but you have to hug that guy because he needs that friendship too. You know, some things by the fathers do not tell these things to their sons.
Well, some of these days, you know, I'll invite you guys back and we'll also look at, you know, the relationship between our parents and how that relationship shapes up the people we become all of a sudden. Because we've seen people who have not expressed father love, who have never experienced it too. And when they become fathers or mothers, they take that up, and it definitely makes it worse for their own families. So I'll definitely invite you guys back, and you're brilliant young people. The sky is a stepping stone, definitely.
Thank you.
Well, this morning, if you're just joining us, we've been looking at peer pressure and what it can do for us. Young people are at home, and you might be watching this show. Keywords: bad company corrupts good morals. Coming up, sports with Isma and Mabel. Stay with us.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
We started with the goal of bringing the power of computing into the hands of people around the world. From the beginning, we were designing many of the world's first touch and wireless handheld devices. We changed the way you use your fingers. Based on our research into gestures, we gave you the intuitive and easy to use HTC Touch. We then announced a new way for you to experience the internet with the world's first Google Android smartphone. To give you the most personal experience, we introduced HTC Sense, a user experience that fundamentally changes the way you use your phone by making things work the way you expect them to.
Mikwano gyaffe bana NTV ate naddala mu bannaamu muli gw'emizannyo gukomyewo 2014 ate mutya
kati ate bukyusiza n'obudde kati bwa 7 gwali gwa 9 ne bugoberera ntusanyuka kati gubongereddeko wano malya g'ebyemisana awo guso tugubwa tayize gubaleetera ekintu kyonna kalonda n'ebyemizannyo omunoli gw'ebyemizannyo omupya 2014 isima waali alagira Argentina yenjo mukubira eddiba lye omukwano gujja kukomawo ku muli gw'emizannyo naye kasita kinatuuka eri bano ba Messi okulumba abalenzi baffe ba Thiago Silva awo tewali mukwano omuli gw'ebyemizannyo 2014 kezinte
everybody in parliament as long as they can wake up and vote for their NRM.
As long as the voters exercise their rights to elect their leaders, there was no need for term limits in Uganda.
I know him. I know how he operates. I know how he thinks.
There are ways you can go around these obstacles.
Why should I conduct myself as if I am Muyai?
It's absolutely true. I admired President Museveni.
Is the ICC a fascistic code targeting African leaders?
You cannot tell me that the whole trouble Kenya had revolved about only 2 individuals.
The money is not in the budget of this financial year.
You can't beat God. You see, God is polygamous also. Look at Jeremiah chapter 31.
The security of this country will largely depend on the contribution that the people make.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
We need to give the body what the body needs. Man cannot live on bread and kisses alone, right? The truth is, I don't know if I'll ever understand her.
That's right, Guerra. The commissioner and I already spoke. And now, dear mother, it's your turn.
You're no one here, Commissioner. You're nothing but a common thug.
And you're just a sad woman who thinks she owns everyone and everything in this town.
You're mistaken. I'm the boss here. Does it bother you?
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
On to 9, and it's still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel, and I'm joined by 2 beautiful people. This time you don't have matching things, eh? Okay.
No. I think I lost track the days I've been sick.
I'm matching with you.
Okay,
Ish.
yeah, something. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of just made this up in the morning. So I hope.
Let's first talk about virginity being what?
Yeah, so the young people tell me virginity is a lack of opportunity. Is that
was that by the boy or the guy?
Are you a virgin?
Is that on national television?
I'm just asking.
Lack of opportunity. Wow, I'm surprised.
Lack of opportunity first for guys to come your way, but also for you to practice. Or when you have a guy, you don't practice.
I think as a lady, really, you cannot say there's lack of opportunity.
Well, yeah,
no way.
A guy may like you.
You just need to go to a bar.
A guy may like you. You just
need to go to a bar.
How many bars have you been to, Mabel? You're sounding like an expert on bars. I doubt you've been to many.
I doubt you've tell me it's lack of opportunity.
No, but if she goes to a bar and a guy will come and, tell her what do you want to drink, So has it been lack of opportunity, Mabel?
You are assuming something which I'm not going to confirm or deny.
You're being a politician.
But anyway, I don't think it's lack of opportunity. And I think that's very disgraceful for a fellow woman to say that you have had because of lack of opportunity.
No, that's what
are you supposed to go sleeping around with anyone?
In high schools. But that's what kids say. Yeah. If you're a virgin in high school, kids will just go. Virginity is lack of opportunity. That's the trend in high school.
I want to go back to high school.
Well, you know what? I know kids are watching this show right now. You're at home. There's nothing to be ashamed of being a virgin. Actually, now I know young people say from you know, the Pentecostal churches now are like, it's cool to be in the A class, the abstinent class, you know. So there's nothing to be ashamed of being a virgin, and some men, more men are looking for virgins, so you had better preserve yourself.
Even when you're 30,
yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, so kudos, but it's definitely a lot of work for our parents to do. Well, Isma, this morning, sport was still reacting about the 2015 Africa Nations qualifier. This time, what challenges do we have? Kubanga, we are always calculating. Tell us about the organizational challenges.
I think we are still too far away from doing the calculations, because when the qualifiers do start, that is on May 17th, and Uganda do travel to Madagascar for that first leg, are still way off. But at least you can tell, first of all, one, from the public, I don't see the kind of optimism that previous campaigns have had. Probably all this failure has bogged our minds down, that everyone is not as optimistic as we used to be or would want to be. Then two, I think for FUFA, they know this is the tightest qualifying campaign they'll have to run, because it's going to run between May and November. That means they have to do everything crisp in about 6 months or less.
Right.
And that means a lot of money, because even if they beat up on Madagascar and then have to play the Equatorial Guinea or Mauritania in the other round, in the next round, then they'll have to travel to West Africa. Then if they do get past that round, then they'll have to go back to West Africa to play Ghana, Guinea, and Togo. So I think financially, this is supposed to be one of the toughest campaigns FUFA will ever run, and I don't think their bank balance is that good, because most of the money they do generate, besides the sponsors they do get, most of the money they do generate comes from the games they host here. Now, the biggest problem I have is that first game against Madagascar in May may not generate the kind of money that would be enough to facilitate them for the next game. And then the next game, either between Equatorial Guinea and Mauritania, wherever they play, does not generate the kind of money that they would want.
You're talking about us not having enough bank balance. One, Zino game Ziguabugui. Don't they have a calendar and say, maybe between May and November we're going to play African, you know, and they have a projection of how many games they will play.
Yeah.
And maybe come up with a skeleton budget of, say, R1 billion we will need this amount.
Now, the problem is that when they do come up with a budget, and they do that, and I know they have, is that do they go and generate that money? That's a problem. Because recently, they did appoint a marketing director. I think she's called Miss
marketing director.
Yeah, Miss Helen Chironda, at help FUFA with all these things to be about getting the money. Now, besides the deal they signed with Airtel last year, that was about 800 million shillings over 4 years. Which is very little money. They haven't got all this other money coming in. Yet we as fans want to see all our best players playing. Most of these players are going to have to be flown in. I know, for example, bring here Richard Kalunji for just about one game. Cost Uganda about 10 million shillings. And sometimes they come in and won't even play, like in the last campaign, the two central defenders are Andy Mwesigwa and Isaac Isinde. So that kind of cost-benefit analysis is something that is very tough on countries like ours. So this is a point where they start saying to Saba government here to Yambe. And this is something that NCS, for all the budget they have, it's about 1 billion for all the sports in Uganda. How much of this can go to FUFA to help them with the campaign? I see a huge challenge, especially financially, to have all these players here, to generate money from those games, and probably they should get sponsorship beyond the Airtel, because I know they have one with, I think, Nile Special. Yes, and I don't think most of it is financial. So they need a lot more activation, I think, from now going forward. And you look at it, it might seem very far, but it's about 19 days to that first game in Madagascar, and they don't have much time to do that.
Well, let's hope, you know, this time works out. The fans did a lot last year.
They always do.
So I hope we shall come together again and help, you know, fundraise some money.
Well, in basketball, other than the racism issue of the Miami Heat, tell us about their quest for their third title in a row.
Last week at the start of the playoffs, there were 16 teams, and now I can comfortably say there are 15, because Miami Heat, the two-time defending champions led by LeBron James, are into the next round because they beat up on the Charlotte Bobcats this morning. LeBron James, the MVP for the past 2 seasons, scoring 31 and 9 assists there to get Miami Heat through. And they are doing this at a time when all the other playoff series are not yet done, so they'll have a lot of time to rest. And even the teams they're supposed to be competing with for that championship, one of them that has been taunted as a potential title contender, the Indiana Pacers, are still losing in their series to the Atlanta Hawks, because this morning they lost. And now they are 3 games to 2 down, while the San Antonio Spurs, who are the team that Miami beat in last year's final, are only clawing back the advantage on the Dallas Mavericks, because they won their game this morning to draw that series at 2 games all. But yeah, I think it's a good thing to have Miami Heat playing the way they are, because I think the biggest storyline of these playoffs is going to be whether LeBron James can get that 3-peat to win 3 titles in 3 years, something that Michael Jordan did on 2 successful occasions, something that Kobe Bryant has done. Kobe Bryant even went almost close to winning a 4th. Back in the early 2000s, but then they messed up the roster, got in Karl Malone, got in Gary Payton, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe, and just couldn't get all these pieces together, just couldn't have all the best players on one roster. So I think for Miami Heat and LeBron James, it's going to be very comforting that now the team they do play, that's the Toronto Raptors, do play Brooklyn Nets later today, and that series is still tied at 2-2. So they have a lot of time to rest, and by the time probably the week is done, Miami Heat will be waiting for that team in game 1 on Saturday, and it will help them quite a bit because they've had problem with D-Wade because of the knees. He's had to play some games and sit out some just to keep his knees fresh. So when they go into that second round series, again it's either Brooklyn or Nets, it's going to be very good for the Miami Heat because now they've swept their series by 4-0.
Wow.
So that should be a big plus for the champions.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, on to real sport now. We thrashed Newcastle last night. Can we play Champions League next season?
I think there's a bit of inevitability, and Arsenal, when they are chasing 4th spot, I have a feeling that if I was Arsene Wenger, I'd love to tell my players that 4th spot is the title. Arsenal would go on and win the title. Because I thought last night, after knowing the results that Everton had picked up on Saturday against Southampton, Arsenal knew they'd go and get the result, and then they are 4 points clear, which is very bad for Liverpool. You know why? Because if Everton have nothing to fight for against Man City, then Man City win. So Liverpool must have been praying on the night for Arsenal not to win the game.
Right.
Yeah, it's that time of the season when every day you keep on changing the team you're supporting. I think Everton will give up at this point because after last night, those goals from Loro Koscielny, Mesut Ozil and Olivier Giroud mean that if Arsenal go and win only one of their remaining 2 games, they'll be in the Champions League for an 18th successive season. You cannot fault Arsene Wenger for everything he's been, but we know what this means being the Champions League financially. You know what is going to affect Manchester United because they won't be playing there next year. We know how it affected Bayern Munich at some point about 6 years ago and AC Milan currently. So I think a big plus for the Arsenal that they'll be 4th. In a season where Arsenal fans probably won't count this as a success. In previous seasons, this would have been a success because Arsenal would be chasing the team in 4th and then eventually snatch it with about 2 games to go, like the final of the season, like they did against Newcastle last year. But now this time they were in a title race back on January 20th, by the way, Arsenal top of the league.
Yeah.
Now they are 4th.
Yeah.
They won't
Is that a
for
success?
a while. That's why you're saying maybe they won't look at it.
This won't be a success
because they
for the
left for a
Arsenal
while.
fans. Arsenal fans won't look at this as a good season. Even if they won't go on and win the FA Cup, and they're not in that title race.
I don't know, for me, given our past seasons, I think at least there's a point where we led the table for a number of weeks. So,
not that we'll remember after 3 years. All they remember is that. Okay, still with the Premier League, Suarez winning Player of the Year. Do you think he deserved to win?
First of all, this voting is done by December, and I wonder why the results of the voting do come out this late in the season, with about 2-3 games end of the season. Because the voting is done between August and December, which I have a problem with. There are players who could not be playing that well at the time, but have been averaging the rise to the occasion towards the end. But I think there's a bit of inevitability. Even if Liverpool don't win the league, the team that has finished 7th in the past few years and now will not finish lower than 3rd at the end of the season. I think for Luis Suarez to go and score 30 goals in 30 games without being suspended, this was a player who everyone I think tagged as a villain in the years gone by, especially that biting incident with Ivanovic and then calling Patrice Evra black or negrito, like he did call him, which in his language is not abusive. Probably the Premier League thought otherwise. So I think for him to go and change his image and come back be the competitive player that he's been this season probably gave Luis Suarez the edge. But you look at the kind of competition he was facing. There was Yaya Toure in there. probably
Yaya Toure has been good this season.
Yes, I think he's been brilliant, but he wasn't as dominant as Suarez was in the period of voting between August and December. I thought Yaya Toure has been brilliant between January and May.
Can I ask, is it because he's black? Because there's something that came out last week about Yaya Toure not being recognized as much because he's black.
I think when he sits home, he must be feeling that way, because he said that in an interview with the BBC, when he said he's not recognized enough because of his color, his skin color, which I totally disagree with, because I thought the statement was immature. First of all, it wasn't called for. It was in the middle of nothing. Okay, the question was from a BBC journalist, so whether he thinks he gets the recognition he deserves. And he actually went on and on about his skin color and said it again and again, about 3 statements. I don't think Yaya Toure should be claiming that, because I think he's one of the most recognized players in the world. He may not be winning as many awards in Europe, but you go into a competition where Luis Suarez has 30 goals and you have 19. You know, people who vote and don't have those memories. I'm the kind of person who will vote a player who doesn't score a goal. At the time when Alexander Lev, for example, was at Arsenal, I used to think he was one of the best players in the Premier League, but he didn't have goals, he didn't have assists. But he used to do the things that happen before the goal comes. Now, Yaya Toure has become that kind of player who is mainly visible when Man City are scoring. Now, when you're competing in that kind of bracket, you've got to take the stick that Luis Suarez is scoring more and setting up more. He has 30, set up 12. At that point, do you vote Yaya Toure? I don't think there is. I think Luis Suarez for me.
Right. Well, I think this is different from this is different from basketball. I think black people. This should get over this whole thing. Black people are good. We should
have bananas on the show very soon. Everyone is eating bananas on the internet.
Yeah, you know, I think I should have a banana tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how can a man now become an ambassador just because of eating a banana, which was quite a good thing? You know, that's the way you should respond to anyone that calls you black, whether you're a nigger or
negrito.
I think that was a good response from that gentleman. Well, Isma will also be talking Bayern and Real Madrid tonight. That's going to be definitely a hot game. I know, I have a feeling Isma may be rooting for Real Madrid, but
I've been rooting for Madrid to win the Champions League since August. They just need to get that one goal. Bayern won't defend well, and Madrid will be in the final. They've waited for this for 4 years. They've been to 4 semi-finals. They won that 10th trophy. They last won the Champions League back in 2002. Real Madrid for me.
Real Madrid. All right. I know a friend of mine called Felix Manino who's like, Isma, go to hell or something. But here is the African proverb. Betty Alwan this morning contributed this African proverb. A dog knows where the place he is thrown food.
That is domesticated dogs. That are where you put the food daily. They'll be there. But I've got to say, God is amazing. Because we all find ways to the things we love. And the dog uses only its sense of smell. Could barely see the bone. But the smell will attract it towards the bone. Without even looking in the dark. I'm told dogs are most active at night, aren't they?
I don't know.
I don't like dogs, but
but you're very sure they always get to the food.
Yeah, you know, even when they go and wander wherever they go, they always come back home somehow. Would that mean that is it the equivalent of east or west? Home is best. You always know where the dream is. You always know where.
The same way Arsene Wenger will never leave us.
What's your problem?
To bring football in.
All right, you can head over to our Facebook page and let us know what you think about this proverb. And of course, we'll be uploading it tomorrow earlier so that you comment. But if also you want us to profile your African proverb, you can send it to Facebook or SMS 6565, or you can tweet it at morning at NTV and let us know what you think. Now, a couple of your comments about the show. I have saved 500,000 shillings from my teaching salary. I wish to start a business to supplement my salary. Please be kind and give me some advice for capital. for this capital?
Yeah. I think following, yesterday, dance thing. Yeah, encouraging people to save. And even there's another one there, someone talking about saving. You do something you love. It's not for us. We may tell you go and do something, but you don't like it at all. We may tell you go and start a sports betting, which you don't believe in. With 500,000, can you start a sports betting?
Yes, sports betting. We shall have a session on that.
By the way, I think it's something that we need to do on this show. I find it a big problem. While it's business and I'm a beneficiary, it's something that needs to be done a lot more responsibly.
Right.
I find people who wake up and sit the whole day and all they'll do is bet. I find it totally wrong. Totally wrong.
Right.
It's supposed to be something with leisure. It's supposed to be the way I spend money on Mabel taking her to the beach.
Excuse
me. No, Brad, I'm using analogy. I'm just using correlation.
Okay.
Now, it's supposed to be the same way. People are supposed to spend the extra thing. Now, people these days do spend the first coin on betting.
Yeah, but back to this question. I think
we should bring him on Everyday Life, and he talks about, the impact of sports betting and how you can bet responsibly. Watch out next week. Go and do your research. And make sure you come when you're ready. Well, for the rest of you, thank you so much for staying with us. It's been an awesome privilege to be part of your morning. For Mabel, Isma, the whole crew here, Hassan, Ruyunga, Irene, Harriet, our director who supports Manchester United, conflict of interest, down to Maureen, our producer, and the baddest sound engineer, Doreen. Thank you so much. Down to the NTV studios, man, meet Charles and the crew. We want to say thank you. Hasta la vista, baby.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Molondo.